What if I told you that the Pixel 8 is of better value than the Pixel 8 Pro? Let me explain. Value: the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. Synonyms: worth, use, and practicality. Now, when it comes to finalizing a purchase decision, many of us like to weigh our options in order to see what product provides us the most value. And this is no different when deciding what smartphone or piece of tech to buy, whether it's laptops, video games, earphones, or even the most important tech a person can have, a smartphone. Specifically when it comes to tech, value comes in many forms and equals up to an overall standard, basically meaning that you want a phone that can do everything that you need it to do as smoothly as possible, while still being affordable enough to justify what you're paying. And I think that the Pixel 8 series perfectly explains this logic. What if you didn't know the price of the Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro? And what if you were someone who's completely new to the capacity of each phone? If no one knew what these two phones costed, I'm pretty sure that most would guess a $100 difference since these phones are similar in every way. But in reality, the price margin is much higher. The Pixel 8 Pro is listed at $1,000 before taxes, while the Pixel 8 is around $700 before taxes, which basically leaves a $300 price difference. And as someone who has used and studied both of these phones, from a real-world perspective, the only significant upgrades that the Pixel 8 Pro has to offer is a bigger display, bigger battery, and a different material in the back, which honestly doesn't sound like a $300 difference to me. The Pixel 8 series is also struggling with processor performance as well, so a lot of people will be looking away from the Pixel 8 Pro since $1,000 is too much for a bad chip. It's much smarter to go for a phone that's in the $700 price range because the Pixel 8 is cheaper than the iPhone 15 and Galaxy S24, which increases its margin for error since $700 isn't as risky as $800, $900, or even $1,000. And in hindsight, it makes perfect sense. With the Pixel 8, you're getting a good camera, a good display, great software, and a solid build without having to break your wallet, basically making it a better phone in terms of value. And speaking of value, the Pixel 8 is a phone that has plenty when it comes to its build. Everything feels very premium, from the buttons that are nice and clicky, to the very rounded frame, all the way down to the nice camera bar that has pretty good finger placement. Now, Google has always given a bubbly performance, from its software all the way down to its hardware. The Pixel 8 has the most rounded curves out of any phone on the US market. It feels very comfortable since the edges form to my palm nicely, and it has a very welcoming presence. It can be a bit slim, which adds to its discomfort, along with a glossy back that, although looks premium and clean, can attract a lot of fingerprints and add to its already slippery feel. But besides that, the Pixel 8 looks more valuable than it's priced at, and I can really understand how Google went with the glass back, as it gives a nice look without costing too much and affecting the overall price. Now, the Pixel 8 is a little lighter than the Pixel 8 Pro. It's about 26 grams lighter, and this was definitely my preferred phone since it was very light, easy to hold for a longer period of time, and also felt lighter in my pockets. I would also recommend a case for anyone who wants to buy or owns the Pixel 8. They have pretty bad scratch resistance on the display, and the back can also scratch up very easy as well if you drop it, so I think that it's one of the phones where you kind of need protection. So now that we talked about how the build and design have marginalized the similarities between the Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro, it's about time that we talk about how great the software has been. Now, the Pixel 8 has the exact same software as the Pixel 8 Pro, so you don't have to worry about missing out on the majority of the features. And just like the 8 Pro, the regular 8 feels just as responsive and is in tune more than ever. The 8 was able to truly capture that premium feel of the Pixel 8 phone and instantly reminds me why I love Google software. I love the little subtle things like the arrow on the side of the screen dislocating whenever you back out of an app, or when I plan something on my calendar, it will pop up on my home screen without me having to hope the notification comes, or even the music feature where your Pixel will hear a song playing in the background and automatically tell you what it is. And going deeper into software, remember the new circle to search feature that the Galaxy S24 Ultra has? Well, the Pixel 8 Pro has it as well, and it's very nice to see how attentive and up to date that this phone is compared to the top dogs. And speaking of attentive, the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro easily have the best haptics out of any phone in the US. Whenever I'm typing a message, swiping and closing different apps, or getting a notification, the 8 was surely going to make me feel everything I did. Even the way that the Pixel 8 opens the phone has some attention to detail. As you can see right here, whenever I unlock my Pixel 8 with my fingerprint, the animation starts from that point. When I turn it on from the power button, it comes from that side. And when I use facial recognition, it's more widespread. And things like this, mixed in with the fact that the software has been consistently running smooth, definitely helped me crown the Pixel 8 for having the best software for a phone of this price. Along with the fact that the Pixel 8 has 7 years of OS and security updates, if we're talking about software, I could really go on all day. The display was no slouch either. Again, it marginalized the difference from the Pixel 8 Pro when Google decided to put a 120Hz refresh rate on the Pixel 8. But with the price, there also is a downgrade. The 8 has a 1080p Full HD display, while the Pixel 8 Pro has a 1440p Quad HD display. But like I said earlier in the video, is it worth that $300 difference? A lot of tech nerds like myself will care, but I feel like the average person won't care. And even when I put these phones side by side, you can't really say that there is a huge difference. Both displays still look good. The 8 Pro is of course better, but is it $300 better? I don't really think so. I also really appreciated the upgrade in brightness. The iPhone 15 Pro Max and Pixel 8 cap out at 2000 nits of peak brightness, which definitely is a spec that speaks for itself. Comparing both of these phones on full brightness was interesting since it proved that in many ways, the Pixel 8 is competing with top tier phones. It also didn't hurt that the Pixel 8 has extremely slim bezels, a tiny hole punch front facing camera, and the option to remove the front buttons, which gave the display a great range of screen real estate. And while the display has a bunch of things going for it, it also has some downsides as well. Its scratch resistance is very bad, and one simple mess up could cause some permanent damage. The facial recognition was easily the worst when compared to the iPhone. It didn't work whenever the lighting wasn't perfect, and it was very inaccurate and slow throughout my whole time of using this phone. The fingerprint sensor was no better. This is also why I would consider it to be the worst in the US market. It was slow, inaccurate, and felt like it was generations behind in competition. And going deeper into another downfall of the Pixel 8, the Tensor G3 chip has to go. There's no way that every phone in this price range and up can run a game like Asphalt 9 with no problem, but the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro are the only ones that look horrible. Even after 4 months of use, the Tensor G3 still hasn't been fixed, and I feel like it's the only thing that's truly holding the Pixel 8 series back. But the Pixel 8 has redeemed itself a little through battery life. Gaming looks pretty terrible on my Pixel, so I resorted to doing things that I usually do, occasional social media, random texts and phone calls, and just going through different apps for different things that occur in my life. 4 to 5 hours was the norm to me, and this lasted me all day. I would end my days with about 25% battery left, which was good enough till I went home and charged my phone back up. I left my always on display on, I keep 5G on, I had my brightness turned up most of the time, and I didn't try to save battery during my extended period of time with the Pixel 8. The cameras were a strong suit. All across the board, it has the exact same specs as the Pixel 8 Pro, and I wanted to put both of these phones' cameras side by side to show you how the $300 difference doesn't really mean much. Now, taking a look at selfies, as you can see, both of these phones provided great pictures. The depth of field had great quality, my skin tone looks pretty accurate, and the selfies look the exact same across both devices. Everyday photos told the same story, blending the realistic aspect with nice contrast. Objects look very good with a touch of sharpness, and again, I was very happy with the results. Videos were the weaker part of the Pixel 8 series cameras. A lot of times, the lighting couldn't be consistent. It felt a little grainier than the competition, and although it does give good videos, I would also say that they're far from great. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the Pixel 8 after 4 months of use. It's a good phone that does have its downsides, but I think that if anyone is deciding between the Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro, the Pixel 8 will provide you a better value all around. So based on what I told you, how do you define value? Peace.